Hey, what's going on, heroes? I'm back again. This is Manny Reads Comics. This time for my pull list, I got Strange Academy number 10. Let me go ahead and say that I picked Strange Academy to do reviews on because no one really knows the stories behind everything. There's no huge uh, backstory to try to catch up on. If I started reading Spider-Man for the very first time, there'd be so many things that'd be missing. And while yes, some of these characters have connections to bigger backstories. Like Doyle Dormammu has Dormammu. We know him as a villain for Doctor Strange. I don't really know Dormammu too much, so I guess I'm kind of missing that right there. But for the most part, these are all new characters, which makes it very easy to jump in and not miss any kind of, I don't know, like small details. You know what I mean? So, anyways, just a little reason why I picked Strange Academy. Let me go ahead and start talking about the artwork here. This is a cover by Humberto Ramos. He does a pretty good job, especially in this book with magic being the basis of this whole book. Um, his art does I think he does a great job with his art, um, and but it does make me realize that I've been missing a couple things. Like, why is there a Galactus helmet as like the entrance to Asgard? That I don't understand that. So, I mean, if you know the answer to that and you want to let me know, appreciate it, because I'm not going to research it myself. I'm too lazy for that. But I did forget that Scotty Young is the writer for this, and I love Scotty Young's art. I love his writing. He did a book called Middle West with Jorge Corona as the artist, and that's just an amazing book. So anything Scotty Young does, I'm there for it. I most likely have nothing bad to say, which that's kind of a spoiler alert for this book. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but let's jump right into it. It looks like this is another field trip. The last issues, I think there were a couple. They went to a couple of different places. Oh, it was like a parent day kind of thing. So we just saw a lot of different things. But here we have an actual field trip, and two of the class members, Alvy and Eric. I want to say Eric, but it's spelled Iric, but I don't want to say Eric. I don't know. I'll decide halfway through, I guess. Anyways, Alvy and Eric, they are from Asgard, and we don't really know much about their parents, but because they didn't show up for the parent day in the last issue. Um, but Alvy looks like he's taking charge of this. He's the one that calls Sif for them to get taken to the Rainbow Bridge. When they're in the bus, here comes Eric being a jerk as usual. I'm surprised no one's really called him out on it yet. They do call him out, but like not enough to where he's like, oh man, I should probably stop this, or make him reflect on his actions. He's just a jerk for no reason. Doyle wants to sit next to Emily, and as he's about to sit down, he just jumps right in. He's like, "Oh, sorry, this seat's taken," and but then he gets back up, but he still takes a seat. He gets back up and he tells him like, "Hey, man, by the way, just a little pro tip: when you're in Asgard, we don't really like villains, so we all know who your daddy is. You might want to wear a hood, So this is Doyle Dormammu. Uh, who his dad is, big old evil. So um, Eric is like, yeah, I would not want to see you be hurt, and Doyle's just like, yeah, of course, that's why, right? Yeah. Um, but again, being very sassy, he's just being a jerk, but he still takes the seat next to Emily, um, and that's when Emily takes an opportunity to say like, well, hey, aren't you from Asgard? Who are your parents? Are they some type of gods, goddesses, of things and stuff? And he's just like, yeah, well, my dad's a palace guard, and as he's about to talk about his mom, that's when they get sent off. So like the talking stops, right? Um, when they get there, they are met by Alvy and Eric's dad. He's like, again, he's the palace guard. They're met by him. He says that they're honored to have him there, the Strange Academy. And then as he's about to introduce the guest of honor, everyone's thinking it's going to be Thor. It was supposed to be Thor, but Volstagg shows up. Apparently, Thor is busy doing something else. He is the All Father now, so he's got responsibilities, I guess. But Volstagg shows up, and the children are not thrilled at all whatsoever. They just kind of look at him, but he doesn't let that get him down. He's like, hey, I'm going to show you all these things. And he goes on a list of things, which sound pretty interesting. But he's like, the most important part, we're going to go there first. And it's the Ram's Den. Then it's just this huge kind of, I guess you could say it's like a bar stuff. It's not really a bar. It's more of a dining hall. Um, and that's the most important part. I completely agree with him. You know, you got to have that food first. You got to be full while everyone's eating and just having a good time. We have what's her name, Shaylee. She's sitting next to Toth, and she's just enjoying every bit of it. She's like, this is the most amazing food, you wouldn't understand. Even though you are eating the same food, you just don't understand. She's just very energetic. Here's where we get kind of like that high school story, typical story of gossip and who likes who and things like that. Just typical high school stories. And she's even goes to the point where she's like, you know what, Toth, I like you, you like me. We should just be boyfriend girlfriend. And Toth doesn't talk, so he just kind of looks at her, and then he gives her a thumbs up. And he's like, all right, so that's it. That was a big moment, but she's very excited. And then she brings up Emily and Doyle, and like Emily's kind of, what are you talking about? Kind of getting embarrassed, and she, it's a little cringy and stuff. I'm getting embarrassed for Emily, but it's not cringy in a negative way. It's cringy in the typical high school uh, moment kind of way, I guess you could say. Uh, but while this is all going on, you can see Eric and Alvy having a conversation at first in the background, and then it looks like they're yelling at each other. Something's happening. Most likely, Eric is responsible for this animosity. Uh, and then you just see Eric walk away. He stomps away technically, while everyone is kind of like looking at Shaylee, being so excited about her new boyfriend. He kind of takes that opportunity to sneak away. But Doyle notices this. He does not like Eric right now, right? So he notices this, so he finds an excuse to also go away, and just things keep happening that are very coincidental, but it works out for both Eric and Doyle. When they get outside of the den, you see Gus. Gus is this huge giant. I think he's a frost giant, but I'm not 100%. But he's huge, um, and he's there with this gigantic shrimp behemoth. Is what it's called, a shrimp behemoth. I think that's what they call it. And there's this fire demon trying to take it from him. And so frost giant, fire demon, they're not gonna get it into a peaceful conversation. So that fight's happening, and so while that is starting to begin, Eric and Doyle make their way who knows where. Doyle doesn't know where Eric is going, um, but pretty soon they get to the World Tree, which I believe it's called Yggdrasil, um, and Doyle or finds out that Eric is there to visit his mother, who is in jail. Her name is the Enchantress. So I don't know much about the Enchantress. One of the things that I was talking about is I chose this because I don't need to know anything backstory wise, but of course, here we are. Enchantress, I know she's just like a villain. She's up there with Loki, I guess, but that's pretty much all I know of her. I don't really know much else. But now I know that she's the mother of Alvy and Eric. And it's a little confusing because I'm also reading Captain Marvel right now, and in that book, she went to go visit Enchantress as well, but it wasn't at at the World Tree, and she wasn't in jail. It was like at her house or something. So timeline's a little confusing. I know that not everything needs to line up perfectly, but it's just a little tiny irritation. No big deal. Um, but this brings the question of why is Eric such a hypocrite against Doyle? He has been giving him such a hard time over over Dormammu being his dad, and he just never fails to bring it up. And here he is with the mom who's in jail as the Enchantress. So Doyle sees this, he's a little pissed off. Iric finally hears Doyle in the background because his phone went off, and he confronts him. He's like, "Did you follow me? What did you hear? You better not tell anybody." And it's just like a moment of just stress and anxiety on Eric's part, of course. Um, and this is the perfect moment for Doyle to be like, "Haha, I got something on you. You better leave me alone. You better start treating me better." Blah blah. But then we hear Emily's voice. Emily's voice come from around the corner, and Eric doesn't want her to find out. He doesn't want anybody to find out. And like, again, Doyle could have immediately just been like, "Emily, over here, come check this out." But for some reason, who knows what reason, he says, "I got this. Calm down. Be quiet. Hide over there." And he goes and talks to Emily and leads her away. So kind of saves Eric's um, face, I guess. I don't want to say anything else. uh, he allows Eric to save face um, and keep his secret. Then Doyle says, "You know what? We should just go back to the crowd, to the class. They'll probably notice if we're missing." And Emily, fills him back in with what's going on currently. She's like, "Whoa, the frost giants and the fire demons are about to fight. Um, some elves bumped into Toth while they were in the den, and we're gonna give him some crap." But then Shaylee comes in and immediately it's like, "Don't touch my boyfriend," and she just goes into fight mode. Emily compares it to like a basketball game, to when one team member fights another team member from the opposite team. Most likely, what happens is it's a big old brawl, and that's exactly what happened at the Rams' den. So they decide to take this moment. Emily says, "You know what? They're not going to miss us. Let's go, just you and me hang out." And it's kind of like a little bit of young love there. She's kind of making that first move. Uh, Unfortunately, Eric sees this, so it's kind of like a little heartbreak, and his mom calls him out on it. She tries to say like, "What would your girlfriend think if she knew who your mother was?" And Eric putting two and two together is like, "Does she look like she's my girlfriend? No, um, but thanks for making this about you." She brings up the fact that she knows who Dormammu is, and if the prophecy is correct, whatever, I forgot what prophecy she's trying to mention, but if the prophecy is correct, nobody is safe from Doyle. Um, and that's just how it ends there. Um, this could be a possible origin story for Eric. I really hope not. He's been a jerk. He's showing all the signs of being a villain, but I'm hoping it's misdirection. And it's even with this, like he's got a scorned love or he missed opportunity. It's all the path to become a villain, and I just hope he takes all of this and becomes a better man, a better sorcerer from this. So far, it doesn't look like it, but I have some hope for him. All right. Um, because Emily is obviously showing that she's got feelings for Doyle, um, and Eric, Eric and Doyle obviously like Emily. But either way, Emily and Doyle sneak off, and they're at the World Tree where they just start talking about how they saved each other's lives, and they're thanking each other. And one thing leads to another. Emily kisses Doyle. It finally happens. Good for her for making the first move because Doyle was never going to. I do really like his flame changes colors whenever he gets embarrassed. So he's talking about their first kiss of when he was dead. uh, and then he kind of gets embarrassed and his flame turns pink or like a purplish pink. Um, I think that's a really, really cool detail. Um, and of course, after they kiss, it's supposed to be a sweet moment, but the bus shows up with all the students. You can see Eric there coming out of the window. He's upset. He just saw the kiss. Everybody saw the kiss. Shaylee is just talking so loud again over everybody. He's like, "Oh my God, that's so cute." Um, and then Zelma comes in. She said, "Hey, we got to go. We just got kicked out of Asgard. Uh, Apparently, you can't do a brawl and be okay." So they got kicked out, and that's how it ends. I really feel bad for Eric, but uh, It is what it is, man. That's what high school is. It's not forever. Not for everybody, at least I guess. I got to give this issue a 7 out of 10. Uh, Nothing really groundbreaking happens, but it's an interesting story, and we get to see who Alvy and Eric's mom was. That was a plus. It's entertaining. It's building on that relationship between Doyle and Emily. It's no longer will they won't they kind of thing. They've progressed it, so I like that. Um, we get that possible redemption arc from Eric. I would say, I mean, we don't get anything like that, but I'm saying I can see either it going villain status or he learns to become a better person. So I think that's a positive because at least we get some kind of character building on his part. Um, my only negative at the beginning was Eric's being a jerk for no reason, and he's hating on Doyle for no reason. He's being a bully, and by the end of this, it turned into a positive. So because we start seeing why he's kind of doing these things. It's not okay, but we start to see reasons behind it. And let me backtrack a little bit. One of the last things that they say on this is thanks to Shaylee, we got kicked out of Asgard. And she says, well, don't mess with my boyfriend. And she's talking about Toth. When you go to the last page to see the next issue, we see that Toth is completely broken. We don't know if he's dead or something, but he's shattered, and it's kind of like a little foreshadowing. Well, not the picture, but her saying, "Don't mess with my boyfriend." I wonder how she's gonna take it to see Toth like this. We're getting some pretty interesting stories, and it's tough to do that with a big book like this. These are a lot of kids. None of them have been fleshed out, so you have to write kind of you have to kind of focus on one and leave the others behind and then move on to the next. So I think Scotty Young's doing a good job of keeping everybody within your scope, but filling out those questions that we have for each character. So like now we're gonna focus on Toth next. So I don't really know much about Toth other than that he's from like a swamp and he's made out of crystals. I don't know. So he's doing a good job. I think once everyone kind of gets like a character introduction, I'm assuming that's going to be maybe 10 more issues. That's when we'll get to some good storylines and stuff like that. Even though we are having some underlying storylines happening, like I said with Eric, he possibly become a villain, or Alvy. You know what? Alvy has shown those tendencies as well in those last issues where when they went to like Mardi Gras or something like that, and he could have beat somebody up, but he didn't. We're seeing like there's this, I think it's a cat. I can't remember. Like a weird cat following Emily around like the catacombs of Doctor Strange's um, academy. Um, and so far that's pretty much it. But I'm saying that it's building up. Also Calvin not having um, Calvin Calvin is the one who's an orphan, and he's been having some really dark dreams. So what's going on there? We don't know. We'll see it later. I'm assuming. Um, Either way, I'm rambling now. This book right here, 7 out of 10, not too bad. That's it. Appreciate you guys for listening. Again, if you're on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you subscribe. If you're on Spotify, make sure you're following so you can get notifications of when the next episode is up. And of course, my last note, make sure you're a real hero and you share this with your friends. If you feel like they will appreciate any kind of this content, or they are have been on the fence about reading something like Strange Academy, at least this will help them make the decision, hopefully. Either way, again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you with the next episode.